Did you know that Agatha Christie played a major role in perfecting and popularizing the whodunit formula between the 1920s and 1930s? Hello, action taker. Welcome to Live Blissed Out, a podcast where I have inspirational and informational conversations with business owners and subject matter experts to help you get the scoop on a variety of topics. Tired of hesitating or making decisions without having the big picture? Want to be in the know? Then this is the place to go. I'm your host, Marissa Houston, helping you achieve bliss through awareness and action. So let's get to it. Carrie Hammond is a fully recovered attorney who loves to plan events and participate in a variety of social activities. She feeds these interests as executive director of the Alliance of Professional Women and the Alliance Foundation, a Denver networking organization and its philanthropic arm. Carrie loves the work she does with these organizations and the amazing women she gets to work with, but she also has a not-so-secret passion for all things mystery and crime fiction. She is the author of several published short stories, one of which made it into the Best Mystery Stories of the Year in 2023, and another earned her a nomination for an Agatha Award. Her latest endeavor is owner of Blame the Butler, a company that writes and sells downloadable murder mystery party games. To learn more, visit blamethebutler.com. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Carrie, welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you, Marissa. It's so great to be here.
I am looking forward to our conversation because it's different. And today we're going to be talking about mystery parties. And I was so intrigued when I talked to you the first time about this because I think it's something so different that people can consider. Why don't you set the stage for our listeners and talk about why you do this and what got you going and how it benefits people and what drove you to get started with this?
Well, I've always loved to read murder mysteries. So it started with reading when I was a kid. My mom would have paperbacks lying all around and they were always Agatha Christie. So I would read them and got really into murder mysteries in general. I moved to Colorado back in 2006 and I thought, well, I'm going to look for a book club. That's how I'm going to meet people. So I joined a murder mystery book club at a local library that had just started. So founding member. And we would meet every month and read a different murder mystery book and discuss it. And as time went on, I ended up being the leader of that club because the librarian was leaving and she asked me to take over. And these people that I would meet with every month for books, we decided that we've got to meet elsewhere too because we like each other too much. We have so much in common. So I started hosting murder mystery parties at my house, and that was just a way to get everyone together outside of book club. And before that, I had seen murder mystery dinners, and like you would go to a big ballroom at a hotel. I know in Denver, there's one that a place called Adam's Mystery Playhouse, and they just focus on murder mystery dinners. And you buy a ticket for dinner. You can go alone. You can go with friends. Sometimes they host corporate parties. And I'd been to those, and those are fun, but you generally aren't involved in the mystery. You're more of a bystander. And sometimes they'll give different people who attend like a small little reading part, but you don't show up as a character. And I thought it would be fun for everyone to show up as a character because, I mean, we used to play different parts when we were kids, right? You would always dress up as a princess and pretend you were something else. And so I decided to host my first one. And so I looked online and I found a company that I could buy one from. And I bought it, I downloaded, I assigned all the characters and gave people costume information. And they came. And I've been doing it for years. I mean, with my book club, I think I've hosted at least 12 to 15 of these, including virtually when the pandemic hit. And what I found I was doing was I would buy the mystery, I would download it, and then I would edit it because I thought, well, my book club has been reading mysteries for years and they're smarter than this, right? They need some more clues or they need some more puzzles because they want to solve. They don't just want to act a part and find this random murderer. They want to actually investigate. So I created puzzles. And so I would take clues and I would hide them around my house and I would create puzzles that they had to solve to find the clue. And I would add in dialogue. I would take out some. One of them that I bought was a little too ghosty, and I didn't want it to be ghosty or supernatural. So I wrote that part out. And I told my book club I did it. And my one book club member, Jeff, who has been coming since almost the very beginning, looked at me and said, "Why don't you just write these yourself?"
It would make total sense given the fact that you know how to write.
And I looked at him and I said, "I don't know." Like, it was a question I couldn't answer, because why don't I just write them myself? And that's really what started me thinking about it. And I thought about it for quite a few years before I actually launched the website and started uploading mysteries. But that was really, it was like a question I couldn't answer is what started the whole thing.
It's funny because we're in the weeds. We know ourselves and we get so into what we're doing and we can't see what's so obviously in front of us. And then it takes somebody else to go, "I don't understand why you don't just do this yourself." It just makes total sense, right? I was thinking about, as you were saying all that, murder mysteries or even just true crime, just anything in that genre seems to be one of the most captivating topics everywhere, like even in podcasts or television or movies or whatever. What do you think is the appeal? What makes people so intrigued by this?
Well, I'm not as much into true crime, and I know that is just huge. I think crime in general, though, a lot of the reasons we read the books, especially the fiction books, is we want justice, right? So we see so much injustice in the world. And when we read a crime novel, we know, well, we hope, depending on the writer, that the bad person's going to get caught in the end. And so we read it knowing there's going to be an outcome and someone's going to get punished for what they did. And it's a way of just seeing justice where we might not feel in real life we get it. And so that's why I think we read crime novels. And some people, I'm not one of them, which is going to sound funny when I tell you this, but some people also read to try and solve it. They look at a mystery book as a puzzle. I personally, when I read a mystery book, I love to just be entertained. If I solve the puzzle before the end of the book, I'm almost mad. It's like I feel cheated. I wasn't surprised at the end. But with the murder mystery parties, I love to solve a puzzle. So it's like a different take on the crime novels.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the most fascinating things, because you mentioned Agatha Christie, I also love Poirot.
Yes.
My husband and I watch them all the time, all the series, right? And I find it so funny that no matter how many times I watch these movies, for some reason, the story just takes me to a place that I would have never suspected. And then I get so upset because I'm like, but I should have known that was the person. I should have known that was that. But there's so many twists and turns, and it keeps you on your toes because you're constantly second guessing yourself going, I think it's that person. And then I tell my husband, who do you think it's that one? And then we play this game, and then neither of us got the right answer. It's like, how do they do it? And it's just fascinating that a writer has the ability to do that to the person that's reading the book, that's getting drawn into the story. And I think that's part of the appeal too, for me, is the inconsistency, the mystery of the whole thing. You remember when you were kids, we played that game Clue? I mean, yes. Clue is one of the most popular games ever. And it's because you were trying to solve this mystery that you just couldn't figure out. And
yes,
it almost makes us feel like we're part of the story.
I love that idea. I never really thought about it that way before, but you're right. When you're looking for the clues alongside Agatha Christie's Poirot, you are part of the story. And she's a great example because I'm same with you. I will watch a show and I'm like, how did I not see that coming? And when I find out who done it and I look back, she gave you the clues. Yeah. You didn't pick up on them. And it's a good writer who can drop the clue in such a way that you don't pick up on it. And I've always loved her stuff.
Yeah.
And writing short stories myself, I have a limited time to give you all of those clues and not make them so obvious that you kind of solve it at the end. And it occurred to me that writing the short stories are like writing the murder mystery party downloads, because those are like short stories. It's a closed universe. It's a limited amount of characters, and it's a short period of time before the culprit is found out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And they do it so well. They're like masters at it. It's like a master painter. And so everybody, knows Agatha Christie, right? Because just the books that she wrote and how she presented herself in those books was just the most fascinating thing. Like, you're really watching such a unique writer that is hard to replicate. And you're just in awe with the talent that she had. And it really draws you in. And it almost challenges you too, because you're thinking, oh, I wonder if I could figure this out, if I could come along. And you almost feel like she's tricking you. But she's not, because she's bringing you along, and it's really up to you to notice what she's saying.
Exactly.
How do people set the scene and the atmosphere of this mystery when you're creating it? Like, how do we set it up in such a way that gets people drawn in?
So if you're looking to host one of the parties, I think your first job is to pick something that speaks to you. If you're going to be the host, you want to have fun too, right? It's like, it's all about you. And then you invite the guests and you share in what you've created. So I like to first pick the theme. And sometimes it's seasonal, like it might be a beach theme in the summer. It might be snowed in the Swiss Alps in the wintertime. It might be a Gatsby party. Those are pretty big. And so first you pick the theme and you think, if I was going to go to a party, what kind of party would I want to go to? How would I want to dress for this party? I might want to go to a masquerade party in, Mardi Gras. And once you've picked that, I think the next step is to pick the people that you feel you could invite that will get the most out of it. People who you know that love an experience. And a lot of times when you host a dinner party, you tend to pick people who will all know each other or all get along with each other or have something in common. Whereas at a murder mystery party, everyone's going to show up as a different character anyway. So you can truly invite your neighbor, your mom, and your best friend from high school, and they will all meet in this random situation, and they don't have to have known each other before, and they don't have to have anything in common except for wanting to come to this party.
That is such a good point. And as you were saying that, a couple of things came into mind. One is that we get to play a character. And so that means we get to participate. A lot of times you go to these parties and it's awkward. Like you meet these new people and you don't really know what to say. And it's the usual,
Yes.
What do you do?
Yep.
I do this for a living. And then you just kind of make small talk. It's almost like contrived. You don't really feel like you're connecting with them. This allows you to play a character. And then through that character, you can start to warm up to each other, right? Even though it's different from who you truly are, but it kind of sets the tone. And then the other thing is, which is the whole point of doing this activity, I think, is connecting people that you wouldn't normally connect with and creating an environment or an experience that's different from anything else. I think most of the people, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that probably participate in this, they talk about it for a very long time and they'll say, yeah, I remember when I went to that event and we did this and that, because it's so memorable because they were a part of something very different and yet interactive, but it also allows you to kind of connect with people that you normally not necessarily get along with or talk to under normal circumstances.
Exactly. And, you'll go to a dinner party at a friend's house and you'll remember it, of course. But if something different happened or like a different cuisine was served, those are the things you remember, is when it's something different than the norm. And not only do I find that people remember my parties, but they're constantly asking me when the next one is, because they just love to come and they love to participate. And I even have some people, because the book club I'm in is very large, and some of the people love to come for the party and the investigation, but they're not as comfortable being a character. And I learned long ago that you shouldn't force those people to be characters, because if they tell you they're not comfortable, chances are they're not going to have as much fun or maybe have the skills required to be that character. So I started hosting the parties and giving people an option. Would you like to be a character or would you like to be just an investigator? And those people are designated when they arrive that they're not characters. They didn't murder the victim and they're not part other than investigating. And they play a pivotal role, because if they're investigating and going from like group to group, talking to people, they're also spreading the rumors. And that's part of the fun, is to, did you hear that this so-and-so did this? And so they'll be part of that, but they don't have the stress of being a character. Not that it's stressful, because if you like to do this, it's not that hard to create a character and your persona and to follow the rules of the game.
I just love that you're giving them options, because some people just don't feel comfortable acting. I guess they would consider that acting. I have to play a part and it's just not in their nature. They don't feel comfortable doing it. It's like those people where everybody says nowadays you have to get on video and they absolutely dislike being in front of the camera. Why would you force them if they really dislike it? It's not that they can't do it. We know they can. Anybody can, but they are not comfortable. And so it's not fun for them. And so why not do something else? Like right now, we're on a podcast. We're not doing video. We're just relaxing, having a conversation, a heart-to-heart dialogue with each other. And it's comfortable for both of us. And so you do what makes you feel comfortable, because at the end of the day, this should be fun. This should be an event that you can really look back on and say, I want to do that again.
Exactly. I have some friends who are super fun and they love these parties and they never play a character. The one girl always tells me, just make me the dead body, like make me the victim. And every once in a while, I'll do one where she shows up and she becomes the victim. Otherwise, people show up and it'll be like an offsite murder. And you're like, oh, we just heard that so-and-so was murdered. But she just wants to be the dead body because she just wants to come to the party. And she's a great person to have at the party. And I hate to exclude anyone who would have fun doing something like this.
Yeah. Everybody has a part to play, right?
Yeah.
When people sign up for this and decide, okay, I'm having a special event and I really want it to be fun, and so I want to do this murder mystery party. Is this something that you host along with them, or is this something that they can get and then do on their own?
This is something that they can get and do on their own, because I have given them all of the instructions to be the host, tips and tricks for being a host, how to choose your guest list, talking about the people who might not want to play a part. You've also got people who aren't really reliable. And if you can kind of visualize a murder mystery party, someone at the party is the guilty party. Someone's going to be unveiled as the murderer. Well, what if that person doesn't show to the party? That makes for an awkward party. So we've all got friends who we know aren't super reliable. And those are the ones you also don't want to make a pivotal role in the mystery. The way that I write them, though, the host can play along if they want and not know who done it. So if you'd like to host and play along, you absolutely can. You don't have as much control over the party, because I find that if you have new people playing, they might not quite understand what they're supposed to be doing. And if you know the background of the story and the final outcome, you can help kind of push them like, why don't you tell them that part? And so maybe I would suggest the first one you host, you do know who done it. And so you can help guide the party. But then after that, if you've got a group of people who know what they're doing, absolutely play along and be surprised just like everyone else.
Let's say that somebody's interested and they get one of the murder mysteries that you offer. Is there like a tutorial that walks them through how to set things up, how to do everything? And then is there like a theme that they pick for that particular event?
So there are host instructions that are the same for all of the mysteries, and then they are personalized for each type. So they would first pick their event. So full disclosure, I just launched the website in October. So as I get more up there, you'll have more themes to choose from. So you would pick a theme. For example, there's a Murder of the Monsignor takes place in a convent. That's an all-female party because everyone comes as a nun. And then I have Murder at Macabre Manor. That's a co-ed party where you have men and women. So you choose the theme first based on what's available. And then the host instructions guide you through hosting that party from start to finish.
Got it. And then once you watch that, then you will be prepared to figure out how to set up the party,
yes,
and who to invite, do all the things so that on the day of the event, you're ready. I think you mentioned that there are options to do this in person, but also online, like through Zoom.
Absolutely. And Zoom makes for really fun parties. You'd be surprised. People still have fun dressing up. I find that when I host them on Zoom, I have a girls group that we started during COVID because, when the world shut down and we were all isolated, we realized, well, we're in 9 different states. We can Zoom in and see each other. And we started doing murder mystery parties as just something to do, like playing a game. And, you have game night. And it's fun to dress up, and people in the group will often pick their backdrop in Zoom based on that. So if the murder takes place in a snowy Swiss Alp ski lodge, you should see the backgrounds. We've got ski lifts in the background of some people's Zooms. We've got the lodges. So that's a lot of fun. And you only have to dress up from the waist up.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's so much fun. That's something you definitely can't do in person, as easy as you can on Zoom. And here's what I was thinking. As you said that, Carrie, I realized that there are so many people that we probably know, whether in other states in the United States or around the world, that we'd like to stay in touch with, but it's very difficult because you'd have to either call them one-on-one, and then they're always busy, and then it's awkward because you haven't talked to them in years. But how cool would it be if you just had one of these events a year even, or every 6 months or twice a year, whatever, you'd have these little events to bring all those people that you love, but you never get to talk to. And then you do this little adventure with them. It would be so much fun to build that connection without the typical, hi, how are the kids and what you doing? And, that sort of thing. It's an event and a fun event that you can kind of help them experience right along with you. So I think it's brilliant.
And it's like hosting a party, and you can't invite your out-of-state friends to a party at your house because they're not going to fly in for dinner, but they can Zoom in for a murder mystery. Exactly.
Yes. And what about, we have people that we all know that either can't drive somewhere, or maybe they're older and they're uncomfortable, but they want to get involved. We talk about isolation all the time in the new world. And I think it's because in our environment today, there are a lot of people that are just uncomfortable telling you that something is stopping them from going there. For example, some people don't like to go to parties at night. They just don't feel comfortable because it's a process. They either have to get an Uber or they have to drive themselves, and they just don't want to be out at night. They're just not happy doing that. But if you invite them to one of these events, they can be part of it, because it doesn't mean they don't want to socialize. It just means the circumstances are stopping them for one reason or another. And now you can get them to join without feeling like they have to compromise the situation.
Exactly. And another benefit too is I am an extrovert, but I have a lot of introverted friends. And for an introvert to get in the car, drive to a party with people they don't know, hang out for a certain period of time, and then be able to finally, kind of escape to their own zone and go home and decompress. It's so much easier to Zoom in, and you feel like you're still in your own home. And my introverted friends love it because it doesn't take as much out of them, they tell me.
So true. And back before COVID hit and everybody was like, what are we going to do? We don't know how to talk to people. I was laughing because years before I was already using Zoom, and they were all calling me, asking me to show them how to use it because nobody wanted to do it. They used to say, am I not good enough to meet in person? Is what they would say when I would suggest Zoom. But when COVID hit, you had no choice. You kind of had to do it. And then it turned into like nobody wants to meet for coffee anymore because it's so convenient. But that's what happens is people have a hard time shifting their mindset into something new, and they think that I can't do this. No, we have all the technology and tools now to do stuff. And instead of thinking, well, I don't have friends. And by the way, there's a friendemic right now, right? People are always saying they feel lonely, they don't have enough friends, or they don't talk to their friends enough. This tool will help fix that, because now you're getting together for an event that's fun and memorable. And then it kind of starts that process. It's very similar to when you have to clean a drawer and you're like procrastinating. And then once you get started, you can't stop.
Exactly. And you feel so good when it's over.
Yes, exactly. Right. So you're like, why did I take so long to do that? I should have done that a long time ago. I think this is the same thing. It's a wonderful tool. And going back to the conversation that started this whole thing is that it's so important to continue to be social, to stay connected, to put a smile on somebody's face, to have fun. But you don't have to do it the conventional way anymore. There's so many fun things. And that's why when I talked to you and you said you were doing this, I'm like, let's talk, because I think this is so much fun. And it gives people an alternative to do something memorable and engaging that's not your typical gift. Give a candle or a kitchen towel or a mitt or whatever. It's the same stuff that everybody does. It's something new, something different, and something social, which I think we all need, because at the end of the day, we're busy. Life goes on and it's fast. We were just talking about that earlier. But at the same time, I think that we have to carve out special moments. And I think this will give us that tool, that way to get there.
Yes, I agree.
I think it's brilliant. And you're going to have to thank Jeff for giving you that idea to create this on your own. I think it just maybe sometimes we have to go through that process to get that light bulb to come on, We
do.
Yeah.
And you have to be in the right time of your life. Maybe if I had thought of it 5 years before then, it just wouldn't have been the right time. But for some reason, when he mentioned it, that really sparked something. And then the first one I actually wrote, though, was slightly out of necessity. So the Zoom group I told you about during COVID with the girls from 7 to 9 different states, we decided once the travel bans lifted that some of them hadn't met in person before. So we decided, well, we should meet in person. And so I decided that we should meet in person rent an Airbnb that had enough bedrooms that only those who wanted to share needed to share. And where are you going to be able to afford a 8 to 10 bedroom mansion, but the Midwest? And plus the Midwest was kind of central for all of us to fly. So we started doing trips, and I would rent Victorian mansions in the Midwest. We started in Milwaukee. We went to Indianapolis. And on the third year, we were in Pittsburgh. And it just so happened that the Airbnb we rented was a former convent. And my partner in crime, who helps me plan these girls' trips, is one of my best friends. Her name is Sigrid. And she said to me, the murder mystery has to have a nun in it. And I said to her, no, we all have to be nuns. And I thought to myself, where am I going to buy an online murder mystery where everyone's a nun? Because there were 8 girls plus I was the 9th. So I played Mother Superior. And so I decided, well, this is what's forcing me to write my first one. And so I wrote that for the Pittsburgh trip. We all played nuns. And that was the first one that went up on the website for Blame the Butler.
As you were saying that, what comes to mind is you can really use this in any way you want. You can fly somewhere and rent a place and have fun with your friends, or you can do it over Zoom, or you can go to somebody's house or your house. There are so many ways, and it's just a tool that allows you to have that story kind of draw you into the whole experience together, and then you set the stage however you feel comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. You can even do it at a family reunion because you need something to entertain people.
Yes, those awkward family moments.
Yes,
I mean, it could even be Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sky's the limit. One more question for you. What is your best mystery moment? Do you have something that you remember that you'd like to share with the listeners that is something that's just going to put a smile on their face or make them go, wow, I never thought of that?
So my best mystery moment, I think, is related to how much fun people have with the costumes part. And you don't have to be someone who dresses up on a regular basis to have fun playing with the costumes. And so this girls' trip I told you about, the year we were in Indianapolis, the mystery we played, I hadn't written it. It was before I started writing them. Most of the ones you buy online have male and female characters. And you might think that that is a detriment to a girls group, but you would not believe how much fun it is to play a male part if you're a female. Because I always give myself the male parts because I'll get a hat from my husband. I'll get one of his suit coats, for the Zoom because I only have to be dressed waist up. And it's so much fun to play the male parts because even Zoom will put a mustache on you as a little prop, right?
Yeah.
So we were in person and I had given our friend Gail, who is a master of disguises, a male part. And so we all retired to our bedrooms with our character information and we went to put our costumes on and we were going to meet downstairs. And I opened my bedroom door and I saw a man walking down the hallway on a girls' trip. And I thought, who the heck is that? She had gone all out. She had the wig. She had these 1970s glasses, like tinted glasses. She had a mustache on. She bought a t-shirt that had chest hair on it, like as a design, not as like an add-on. And she was wearing a plaid suit she bought at the Goodwill. And when she walked down the hallway, it startled me because she looked like a man and we could not get over it. The whole time we laughed so hard all night because she looked like a man. She acted like a man. She played up the part. And that was 2 or 3 years ago. And we're still laughing about the time Gail dressed up as the man. And so that was so fun.
And it's thinking outside the box, doing something that you normally wouldn't do, and getting the awkwardness out of some of these social events. You just feel like it's the same old thing. What are you up to? What did you have for dinner? Whatever, right? And this just gives you a platform to have fun. And it's also different from like your typical board game where everybody expects to sit there and roll some dice or whatever. This is really something unique that engages every single person in the way that they feel comfortable. So I just think this is a brilliant idea, Carrie. For the listeners, they're probably going, okay, I'd like to learn more about how to do this. Where do they go?
They would go to blamethebutler.com. The information is there. Again, I just launched in October. So the scenario is there. The explanation is there. I love our little logo. We've got a butler with a tray and there's a poison bottle on it. And he's like super mischievous looking. And it's just so much fun. But you can go to blamethebutler.com and just check out some information and just get a feel for what it's about.
I love the name. I was just going to say, this is a name that I will never forget. It's so easy. It's just perfect for what you're doing. I will make sure I put that in the description in the show notes as well. You're new and you're building on it, and that's great because that's what even makes it more fun, because as you go through the process with people, they'll probably give you suggestions and say, what about this theme or what not? And then you can build on it. And so then it just becomes this nice library of different themes and mysteries that people can choose from. I'm just excited to share it with our listeners, and I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Marissa, for having me.
That's a wrap for this episode of Live Blissed Out. Thanks to Carrie Hammond for joining us, and thanks for listening. If you have a question or comment for a future episode, all you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/LBOVM or click the link in the show notes to leave a brief audio message. If you find value in our show, please visit liveblисsedout.com to reach out, subscribe, and share on social media. This show is made possible through listeners like you. Thank you. So long for now, and remember to keep moving forward.